What is going on, everyone? Tim from Tierfon Orbital. So today's video is going to be a demo video for me. This is actually one of my personal installed Hilts. However, I did want to do a video about the chassis and about the Hilt itself. I had a lot of questions regarding this Hilt and regarding this chassis, so I do want to talk about the install. We'll talk about how to use it. We're of course going to come into Fusion and talk about the design of the chassis itself, and then we will do a demo. We'll put a blade in it, right? So this is in regards to the Derelick. All right, so listen, this is from 89 Sabers, this Hilt. They are spelling it Derelick. I am not going to get into the history. Well, I will. I will talk about the history of this Hilt design, right? So this Hilt, the original design of this Hilt was done by Brad over at Sloth Furnace. Now, this video, we're not going to talk about, whether you agree with or disagree with the fact that 89 Sabers reproduced this Hilt. Everybody has an opinion on that. I'm going to try and stay away from that. However, like I said, this is based on a design Hilt, a Hilt that was already in existence. It wasn't a run. It was just a design that was done by Brad over at Sloth Furnace, and 89 Sabers is the company that reproduced it, right? So we get a lot of reproduced Hilts out there. They're all based on, for the majority, like Canon stuff, is all based on initially or already existing designs, right? This one, however, resides in a very strange gray area where it was designed by somebody. It was kind of a one-off, and 89 Sabers did take that design in and mass produce it, rather, right? So I took a chance on 89 Sabers. So I've had 89 Sabers Hilts come across my desk a number of times. They are, for the most part, great Hilts. They're very well machined. They're well designed. They're solid. They're solid Hilts. So I've always wanted, personally, so I'm going to get down to the personal level here now. I've always wanted a Derelict in my collection. So the official name of this Hilt is Derelict. The 89 Sabers version of this Hilt is Derelick, like lick a lollipop. So I don't know if that's it is what it is, right? So that's the name of this Hilt. I have always wanted a Derelict in my possession or in my personal collection, and really the only way to get one of those is to make your own. So this Hilt is based on already existing parts. It's based on some vintage parts. It has some custom Saber shop parts in it. So, the only way to really have one is to build your own, and I really haven't had the time. I've had a couple of them come across my desk for install for people. But I've always wanted one in my collection, and I took a chance on 89 Sabers and purchased this Hilt through them, and it's great. I'm like just fully divorcing myself from any kind of opinion as to whether or not this should even exist on a manufacturer mass-produced level. This is a really great Hilt, okay? The telescope or telegraph, I always forget that, how this a telegraph Graflex top. I mean, this is a reproduced Graflex upper. It's really well done. It's really well designed. All of the parts are functional. The red button works. There's a glass eye back here. They're great. Just full disclosure, full transparency. It's a really nice Hilt. So I was happy to get this in hand and inspect it. And then I was happy to get a chassis designed for it, right? So there's plenty of room on the inside of this to get crazy with, a hybrid chassis with a crystal chamber, with a battery a battery cover. So I really wanted to put something special in this Hilt, and then obviously make that chassis available to anyone who also was looking to get this Hilt and install it. So anyhow, with all of that out of the way, let's come into Fusion and talk about this chassis first, and then we'll come up top and take a bit of a deeper dive on the Hilt, right? So let's head into Fusion. Okay, so here we are in Fusion. Thanks for tagging along. Thanks for sticking around. So this is the chassis that I designed for this Hilt. So a lot of brass happening in this chassis. At the bottom, so we've got the only tricky thing that I had to keep in mind when designing the chassis for this Hilt is that there are numerous internal diameter changes on the inside of this Hilt. So it steps down from like 31 millimeters to like a thinner diameter. So we have to keep that in mind when I was designing this chassis. The really tricky part is the fact that I wanted a battery cover, and I had to accommodate for that step down internal diameter with the battery cover here as well. So that is always tricky. I did something similar to this with the Knight AS3 from CCsabers recently. So this is just, a lot of measurements that you've got to take into account when doing this chassis. So the battery cover is not one straight diameter. It steps down a little bit up here, right? But for the most part, that is it, right? We've got a battery cover here. I do have some random greeblies on the side of the chassis. I did those in brass as well. At the bottom, plenty of room for a 28 millimeter speaker, fully enclosed. And then around back, this is a Proffie build, right? So this is where my Proffie board sits, and we have a kill switch down here. All of the parts, well, just the battery cover, really. The battery cover is held in place with some rectangular neodymium magnets. And then, of course, I was able to squeeze some accent lights on this chassis. So there are 2 rectangular LEDs up top here that will animate when the hilt is in a resting state as well as when it is turned on. Up top, crystal chamber. So I definitely wanted to get some sort of crystal reveal in this, right? So this is a relatively short crystal chamber, but I was able to pack a little bit of detail into this as well. Okay, it is lit from the bottom with 1 single neopixel, and then I bring my leads up through these 2 conduits or these 2 tubes. Overcompensated with both of these. There's way too many, or just like a ton of room, right? I hate having to squeeze wires up past my crystal chamber, so there's 2 of these for plenty of room. And then there's just a cap for the 6-rail PCB up top here. All right. And that's it. Not really a simple design, but I did want to get something like a showcase chassis for this hilt, because it was going to be, or it is, a showcase in my collection. So, but that's it. Let's come up top. Okay. So, all right. So here it is. This is the Derelick. This is the Derelick from 89 Sabers. All right, so it is a very, very nice hilt, to be honest with you and everyone here. This is a nice hilt, okay? So I knew that I wanted mine to be weathered. I did not want this to be shiny or clean, so I went about weathering this myself, right? I tried to stay true to the original design, or the original look of the Derelict. Everything's been weathered. I knocked back the edges of the anodization in some of these parts just to make it look a little bit used. This grip section, obviously, this has been weathered. I did something a little different with this rib section. Okay, so I actually stripped back everything, all of the anodization on this rib section, and then I went back with aluminum black on it because I wanted to get, some grime inside of these corners here. Like, I just wanted to really capitalize on the dynamic look of this upper telegraph section, or the telescope. I keep forgetting what this is. Telegraph, Graflex up top. I really wanted to capitalize on this unique look of this cut here, right? So that's what I did with this ribbed section. All right, we've got the control box that has also been weathered. I added my own a glass eye up here. So this is a real Fulmer, it's not a Fulmer, but this is a replica glass eye from the Graflex shop. I actually tapped and threaded, I believe it's a 5/16 hole to accept this glass eye, so it does thread. The hilt itself does come with a glass eye, but it's a little bit smaller, and I really wanted something unique to my build, right? So this is a real Graflex, or a replica Graflex glass eye. The lines on the inside of this upper Graflex were painted. So I went in here with just like a black paint wash to get into these lines, and then wiped off the excess, because I wanted these to stand out, right? So like on a real Graflex telegraph upper section, these are all black. But when this came to me from 89 Sabers, it was just bare chromed brass. This is all chromed brass upper as well. So it's like a really nice replica piece. Okay, glass, or the red button works as well. This is a functional red button. All of the buttons, right? So I have made this my aux. This has its own PCB. 89 Sabers shipped 2 PCBs with this hilt, which I also really appreciate. So this has its own PCB, and the red button has a PCB underneath it with brass tactile switches. So it makes wiring everything up really easy. Okay. The hilt does ship with some other greeblies up top, right? There's a bar back here. I didn't quite like the look of that. There was also a really weird, like hexagonal. I cannot talk today. Hexagonal. Okay. There was an upper ring up here that I just didn't like the look of either, so I just removed that. It also kind of stays a little bit true to the original design of the hilt without that stuff. Okay. I'm trying to think of what else I did to this. And that's pretty much it. Heat stained some of the parts just to make them stand out a little bit. The blade plug did come from 89 Sabers as well. It's a nice blade plug. I did weather that. Okay. And that's it. So let's get a look at this chassis. My chassis, I've set this up as a fully removable chassis. So here is the chassis. I have weathered the brass on this. I really, really like the way that this came out. All of this brass does give a nice weight to the chassis as well. Okay, 28 millimeter speaker down here. I did put a real quartz point up top. And that is it. So let's turn this on. There are those 2 rectangular LEDs lit. And then that crystal is lit as well. Brass battery cover. Nice and secure with those big rectangular magnets. I love using these rectangular neodymium magnets. They're super, super strong. Okay. All right, and that's it. I'm going to leave this off when we come down to the bottom. All right, so here is the chassis. Really happy with the amount of detail I got in this. I did all this in polished brass and then obviously went back and weathered it, right? So let's put the chassis in, the hilt, and then we're good to go. There's that glass eye that's lit. And it is a good sounding hilt too. Which I would not expect because we got a lot of room down here in this pommel. It sounds good. All right. Let's put a blade in it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take this blade plug out. Here is the blade plug. Nice blade plug. Aluminum. So this is a 1-inch blade holder. My only complaint. It's not really a complaint, but I wish this was a 7/8 inch blade holder. So 1-inch blade holder. There is a flathead screw around front here that I have set up to serve as my blade retention. I'm going to tighten that. And then we're good to go.
Use the force, Luke.
So obviously I've set this up with my own font package and my own blade styles. So let's see what we got on here. So this is the Count's Claw, Attack of the Clones version from my dude Jesse over at Kyberphonic. I love this font. This is my new favorite font. I just love the ignition on this font. It sounds really good. I love that. Let's see what else we got on here.
Are you a Jedi? I am.
Let's see what else we got.
Count. Are you orange?
Sounds really good. All right, one more.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
One more.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
All right. So that's it. That's the Derelick from 89 Sabers. I can't say it with a straight face. It's the Derelick from 89 Sabers. So again, like completely removing myself from, you know, whether or not you think this should exist on a manufactured level. It is a nice hilt. Like just from 1,000 feet up, looking at this hilt, it's a nice hilt. I mean, it is what it is. I calls them how I sees them. It's a nice hilt. It's a nice replica. It's really well made. I mean, I hate to say it, but I do suggest, listen, who wants to wait a million years for a run if a run's going to happen? Like who, and also like if you don't have time to build your own derelict or you don't have the capabilities and you really, really like the design, I mean, I suggest getting this hilt. Sorry to people who don't agree with me, and that's fine if you don't. People are entitled to their own opinions, right? It's a wonderful part of being human, just having your own opinion. So anyhow, that's all I got. If anyone has any questions about this particular chassis, please do not be a stranger. I have added this to my online web store. So if anyone is interested in purchasing it, you can do it there. If anyone is interested in the hilt, again, I do believe you have to go through 89 Sabers and purchase that. I don't think it's currently being offered through any vendors or stateside. So I don't know. But anyhow, I'm going to stop rambling. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. And with that being said, may the force be with you always. Have a good one, everybody.